Dus het is een Q&A eigenlijk over de films The Pyramid en over Judas Ghost. We hebben de regisseurs hier bij ons. En we gaan een beetje algemeen rond hun carrière werken en rond de state of horror at this point. And how did you get these films made in dire states of filmmaking these days? Let's maybe start off with you, with Judas Ghost. How did it go to production-wise to get the film made?
Well, actually, I feel we were quite fortunate with this experience because it was a film where the funding, we were lucky, was already in place from the writer. He'd always wanted to make a film based on his books, so he'd got the money together. So by the time I was introduced to him, there was a budget in place, which we were very lucky to have. That being said, it was a very tight budget, so it's one of those things where you get a budget and think, great, anyone that's ever worked for free, I can finally, pay them to, do another one. And then of course you put it all out on paper and you realise actually I still have to call in favours and you still have to do deals and all that kind of stuff. So it was tight, but we had a lot of stuff behind us, which was great. So yeah, we were quite fortunate that way. I imagine Alex, yours was a little bit tougher to pull together. So all respect to you for doing that.
So how did it go about for you, Alex?
Well, our budget was not good, but we put together the movie in another way. So originally I written the subject with the main actor of my episode, which is Ritual, the actor Raffaello Tolenghi. We written the subject and then I wrote the screenplay. Then because I have no time enough and no budget enough to make a full-length feature by myself, I searched other young Italian directors who were interested to make the movie with me. I found them, and then we produced every episode by ourselves, and I put them together. And after 8 months of hard work, we do the movie. Every actor, every effect artist, every people involved in the movie were not paid. Now, fortunately, we have sold the movie in Japan and soon in video on demand in USA. So I will pay everyone a little, but I will pay.
Okay, so Simon, you worked based on a book, so you already had, let's call it a fan base behind it. So how much did the writer get involved with the end product?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, the writer, it was always very much his. I mean, he was essentially the producer. It was his project that he brought to me. It's not a direct adaptation of a single book. It's based on a series of his books. So it's new characters and a new story, but set in the same universe as a series of his novels. So it did have a fan base, certainly in that respect. So he was very involved in the writing of it. I actually read a couple of the books whilst we were in pre-production, and we actually made the decision fairly late in the day to add some stuff to the script that is sort of a reference to things that happen in the book, so that there are little things that fans might pick up on. But I have to say, once we'd finished collaborating on the script and production was underway, he kind of just left us to it. So he was very good in that way, very trusting. He just gave us the freedom, to do what we wanted to do with it, and he didn't really see it then until we had what I thought was a picture cut. So before we put the final effects and music in, he watched it then. My heart was in my mouth the whole time. I was staring at the back of his head from the back of the pit, thinking, is he happy, is he happy? And he got up at the end and said, that's the film I wanted to see. So great relief.
And how did he get involved with you? How did you get in touch with you?
That was just a mutual friend introduced us. He was looking for a director, someone who'd seen my work previously and I'd worked before, put me in touch with him, and he knew him from school. We met and got on, and so as a result of that, he decided to let me do the movie, which was great.
And you, of course, you have to work on a legacy of Italian horror films, which you have to keep up with. How did that work out?
Well, I want to say a thing. In Italy now, it's very hard to do horror movies because our cinema, our cinema in general, but our horror cinema is that. There are few young directors that do indie horror, and so it was hard to do what we do. There are no financial resources. There are also no people interested in horror genre. So we do our best, and we do this to remind to our people. And I see that you you remember it well. Italy was the best place where you can find horror movies and horror directors. Now, we are not so good, I know by myself, but the only way that we can say that horror is still alive is to make a tribute to this great director of the past and trying to put some of ourselves inside it.
Has Dario Argento seen it?
Yeah, no, I want to say a thing. I want to say, okay, Dario Argento is, by the way, is maybe our thriller and horror best or well-known director. Such as we have got also Mario Bava, Lucio Fulci, and so on. But I don't like too much his way.
You can say this. This stays between us. No problem.
They are.
So it's gonna be on YouTube. Yes, probably.
Well, Dario will never see maybe my movie. Okay. I like more the other side of Italian B movies, such as Bruno Mattei, Vincent Dawn, also known as Vincent Dawn, Fabrizio De Angelis, Larry Ludman, and so on. Because I think that they were great minds. They watch American movies, they make a sort of rip-off, but with a great personality, a little bit trash, okay, but a great personality, and they sold them everywhere. So I love this kind of cinema, and I want to make a tribute to this kind of cinema, Italian cinema.
Was it always your intention with the period to make like a three-story, like an anthology sort of film, or did one of the stories dominate over the other ones? Maybe we could do this in a feature.
No. The interest was that every director involved has the same importance and the same time and the same freedom, because I wrote the screenplay, but every screenplay, every episode was developed by a single director. I was watching. Okay, but they developed their script, and no, the interest was not to make the collection of shorts, but a movie, a single one movie with different styles, just to show to the world that we can do a lot with nothing.
Okay. Hopping back to the UK, I think UK horror has been doing pretty okay these last 15 to 20 years. I think it all started again with Neil Marshall and The Descent, that kind of picked up the whole genre phenomenon in the UK again, and now Hammer reproducing films. So I think it's easier now to make genre films in the UK than maybe 15 years ago, or?
I think getting funding for any film is always a challenge, but I think certainly there's always been an appetite for horror, and so that makes it a slightly more, certainly it's a more marketable genre, more commercial genre. And yeah, as I said, there's always an appetite for it, so you always find people that are so willing to work on it because they are quite good fun. And I have to say, I'm actually only a recent convert to horror. It's not a genre I really followed prior to coming on board this film, and I watched loads, a lot of them in the run-up to doing this. and it was and I'm actually really into it now. You know, I've got kind of a newfound appreciation for it, having never really seen it before. And I think, yeah, it's definitely a big attraction for low-budget filmmakers because, you know, as I said, they're fun to do. It is popular, and it's also something that you can sell even with a sort of limited budget. It doesn't rely on, you know, big movie stars to sell it. You don't have to have those things. So yeah, I think it's a very popular one to do. Funding, always a tricky one. But you know, certainly there are. I think that's good in a way because it forces you to be resourceful. You know, exactly like you were. You find other ways to do it, and I think, you know, there's a big generation of talented filmmakers emerging now who are using the resources that they have without necessarily the budget to pull these things off and doing a really good job of it.
And selling-wise, how are you doing with the film?
We've just signed with a sales agent, Stealth Media, and that will be going out to the American film market in November. So hopefully we'll have our first distribution success as a result of that. But otherwise we're doing the festival circuit, so we're into 5 so far. It's playing in New York State in Buffalo in a couple of weeks' time, so this was the second festival. Yeah, so we're just kind of starting to spread the word and get it out there now, and fingers crossed it finds an audience.
And how about you? And sales, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, sales are very good. I don't expect that the movie was so good accepted by buyers. So we sold it in Japan, and now in video on demand in the USA. Now there is the American film market, and I hope to sold it in South America, and maybe I hope in Germany and Spain. But the movie, I repeat myself, but it's a no budget, so it's going like a big success. I am surprised, I am amazed, and I hope that I've got a new project and.
Yeah, that was my next question. What's on the slate? What's coming up next?
Well, it's always a no budget, probably, but it's a found footage horror. Based on a true story, and I hope that I will find the necessary to make it real as soon as possible. So, you can say I have a working title for the moment.
Okay, spoil it then.
It's
only for
Possession
you.
Town.
Okay, Possession Town. Good. And you, Simon, are you sticking with the genre? Or you're going to go,
well,
drama?
Well, currently I'm actually writing a crime thriller because I'm also a big fan of the action genre. So that's something I'm working on at the moment to potentially be the next project next year. We're just developing the first draft of the script for that. But of course, my relationship with Simon R. Green all started because he'd written an original sci-fi script, not based on any book, which is called The Crooked Man, I can tell you that much. And so that script exists, and so hopefully off the back of this we may get the funding to make that as well. So with any luck, one of those two projects will happen in the next year or so.
Cool. Alex and Simon, thank you very much for bringing your film to our festival, because we always try at Raise the Reel to be ahead of the game and to screen films before anybody else even knows they exist. We already have them. If you look at our catalogs from previous years, you can see our track record, so I hope you do as well as those other people. Enjoy the festival. There are probably going to be people still coming up to you and asking all sorts of questions. That's the way the festival we are. So enjoy the festival, enjoy Bruges, and hope to see you guys.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. These are definitely for you. You can definitely drink them. They're not only for show. They're not IKEA glasses.
I'm not sure whether to reach over.
They're definitely for sure. So give them a big round of applause and hope to see you guys back in the next years with new projects.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.